We haven't talked about Aptera for a while, and I've seen the comments and I've seen people ask about it, but for a while there I was enjoying doing updates on the brand because I'm such a fan of their prototypes and their ethos and the concept of making a vehicle as efficient as possible while still being comfortable to ride and drive around in. The Aptera YouTube channel actually started doing updates themselves and talking about all of the things going on within the company, and they were even branding them the same titles of my original videos, so I just figured I should probably take a step back and, let the company weigh in on what's going on within the company. So now I want to side a tad bit more towards my opinion on the matter, which is about this updated interior design Aptera has been posting on Twitter and their Instagram, because it is quite a bit different than the initial prototypes we'd seen in the past. The biggest change, of course, that I was actually very happy to see is Aptera adopting the Yoke. So there's clearly a lot of aspects of this business that I think are safe to say Tesla inspired. When you first see the Aptera interior, it looks very similar to a Model 3. Some gear stocks and stuff look like they're the exact same components, and in even their prototypes, they've showcased the charge port, which is literally a Tesla connector. So I don't know if business-wise they're capable of doing that, but I like to see that they're taking a few more design cues because, of course, I am a big fan of Tesla, but I'm very much excited to see where this brand goes, and I hope that they can stay afloat. Seeing Rivian have to jack up prices and change their mind back and forth on what everyone's gonna pay certainly has been a bit of a concern for me in thinking about what startup brands are going to stick around and which ones aren't. So I'm hoping Aptera can stay afloat, but despite that, a couple days ago in a blog post, they were reiterating that they wanted to achieve, their original starting price of about $26,000, and that's before incentives. And I just know that's going to be quite a bit of a challenge for them, especially with inflation and the chip shortage and all of the supplies that they're probably needing to mass produce their vehicles going up in price. So I won't be shocked if those prices end up not being accurate, but finding the beta interior design more streamlined and I think a bit more simplified is definitely a tad more encouraging as they're nearing production. And also putting an instrument cluster behind the steering yoke, which was not there before, is another, I think, welcome change, because at least according to these designs, that seems to be in replacement of the side view camera displays. So of course the Aptera is all about aerodynamics and efficiency, so they're using cameras on the side of the vehicle instead of full side view mirrors, so they have to put those camera views on the inside for the driver to see, and it might be a little bit of a trick to fit both of those camera views on that instrument cluster or putting one of them on the main center display, but I do think it could help simplify complexity, because I definitely thought it was a little bit much to have a center display and two dedicated screens on the side of the interior, and their sole purpose is just to show camera feeds at all times, whereas the instrument cluster probably can show, your speed and other objects around you if they're trying to have more autonomous systems in place, which they've alluded to. And I do want the record to be known that I absolutely hope this interior makes it to production. I think it looks far, far better than the original prototypes, and I know a lot of people are not a fan of the Yoke, and a lot of people hope that's optional, and Aptera seems to be at least somewhat open to options in the future. But all I'll say is that there seems to be a ton of people out there who have taken delivery of their Model S and X and gotten fairly comfortable fairly quickly to the Yoke design, even though a lot of people at first glance all hate it. And I actually think adopting this type of design makes a ton of sense when you're buying a vehicle as weird and as different as an Aptera. If you're willing to buy a three-wheeled vehicle that's a two-seater and basically a teardrop on wheels, then I think you're the type of person that should probably be open to a bit of change and a bit of driving a vehicle that is not the norm. Like you're comfortable with something that is different and something that's going to turn heads and something that is not regular or standard in the automotive world. And that's why, because I've seen so many other people out there comfortable with the Yoke after trying it out themselves, I'm okay with Aptera doing this, and even if it's not optional, I think they'll be fine. I'm just more concerned about like the profitability of the company and making sure that they can deliver these vehicles, because if they do, it absolutely would change some of our EV plans in the future, and I would love to drive one. I would love to own one, especially if they could get anywhere close to those range numbers they put on the website. Personally, I think their watt hours per mile are a little bit too good to be true, but even if they're 30% off on their range estimates, that means that their $46,000 Aptera would still be capable of going 700 miles per charge and just breaking all of the miles per gallon equivalent records and being such an efficient design that even if it can't supercharge because it uses the CCS connector or something, and you have to use Electrify America every time you want to charge it, this could still still cost like half the price of the most efficient Model 3, which I'll be taking delivery of in a few months. So it's kind of taking EVs to a whole nother level of cost savings. Like, if you can imagine all of the cost benefits of switching to an electric car from a gas car, now you don't have to pay for expensive gas prices. Now imagine if you didn't have to pay for expensive charging prices, because you could get a lot of your power from the sun anyway with the solar cells on the vehicle. Plus, even if you are charging it from the wall or charging it at Electrify America, it's using so little power per mile that you might have to start comparing the cost savings of switching to an Aptera from a Model 3. Not a sponsor or anything, but I highly recommend you check out the A Better Route Planner app, because they have the Aptera listed in there, and they don't base it off of Aptera's claims for watt hours per mile. They round up a little bit, and still the cost to drive like 700 miles is insanely low. It's like a couple bucks. So please, Aptera, bring this vehicle to market, because there's a ton of people that I think are excited for it, especially those who don't have kids and just need to drive themselves or one other person around. And I'm certainly in that camp myself. So good job on redesigning the interior. Keep the updates coming on the YouTube channel. I love seeing all of the behind the scenes work. And if they do start deliveries, I'll be sure to cover it for you right here on this channel. So thank you to everyone supporting the channel over on Patreon, and of course just by watching these videos. That helps a ton too. Take care, have a great day.